Hello, sir.
Hello, how are you?
I am good. I do live in the Swedish woods, though, and have a crappy internet. You can't see me, can you? No.
No, no, I can't.
No. Okay. Okay. If I turn on video, you can only see my ugly face and no sound, I guess, because we are very far from. Well, we have broadband, but it's a mere joke. But it's
Oh,
good to see you.
well, thank you. All right, well, then I don't have to record video. I can just do audio. Or I could just put a big picture of you up on my screen. Um,
Yeah.
if you want, you
Oh,
can take some pictures of yourself and I can animate them and turn them into you
that
talking.
would be great. That would be great. I I can sort that out. I've tried the video before, and I think audio is tough enough. And I sit very close to the wireless router anyway, but it's really insanely crappy. We are expecting fiber in a little while, but
Oh,
there's
yes.
nothing now. It's just pagan territory. So. Well, I have all the stuff in my studio, and but I'll send you some stupid. I could even make an extra video, whatever, and say, hey, make weird music, promo, whatever, in tip-top full HD or whatever. I'll show my penis, whatever, anything.
Hi, this is Anthony with MakeWeirdMusic.com, and we have a guest today with us, all the way from Sweden, Mattias Eklundh.
Hello, hello.
Hello, how are you?
Hel- I am good. It's freezing cold today. We have about minus 10 degrees Celsius, which is, I don't know, Fahrenheit. How it's yeah, pretty cold.
Pretty cold, I
Yeah.
think, is what it means.
Yes, yes, yes. I have lots of facial hair and lots of hair on my pagan skull, so to protect me from evil cold. But I like it. I like winter time, so
I
I'm
hear
gonna
you
chop
have
wood.
quite a mane from from the videos I've seen. Is it quite bigger now?
Shave it off every evening. In the morning, it's back. It's really strange. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I have lots of hair everywhere.
I've also heard someone on Facebook said that there's a great translation of your name in another language, perhaps Hindi.
Yes, Hindi, very much. It's well, the Swedish pronunciation is Eklund, but in India the first time I toured there for 3.5 weeks, it took me 2 weeks to figure out why everybody looked really strange when I told them my last name and what's wrong? What's up with you? And they said, do you know what Eklant means in Hindi? Ek means one, and lant is one penis. So one penis. So and it's really stupid because I've said this many times, but usually when you play an instrument, you're gifted and you play that instrument and you are called that instrument. You are Mandolin Srinivas or, Kanjira Selvaganesh or
Oh, yeah.
bass guitar Bob and so. But my name is Guitar One Dick or Guitar One Penis, which is not bad. I mean, it could be Carrie King, It's so Guitar One Penis. Yes, yes. You doing okay?
Ay,
Sorry.
man. I don't know if it's because it's super early for me or if because that story's legitimately that funny.
It's probably early. Yes, well, you look good. Yes. Oh God, yeah,
So,
that's how it is.
the purpose of the site is to introduce musicians and music enthusiasts to new musicians, new kinds of music. And you certainly do some unique stuff on the guitar and just musically in terms of production and composition. So I thought it would be really cool if you could introduce yourself and talk about kind of the evolution of your career and what makes you unique as a musician.
Oh boy, it's a tough one. Well, I am a Swedish boy. I am 46 years old, and I live in the countryside where nobody can hear you scream. And again, everybody, drink diesel in their coffee. And if they buy a new refrigerator, they bring out the big tractor instead of recycling it, and they just make whole and stuff it in there. It's got nothing to do with my music, but anyway, that's where I live. I like it. The hillbillies they're okay, but yeah, I've been doing this pretty much since I was sperm, and it's I knew from the age of 6 that this is what I'm going to do, pretty much. I started to play the drums, and I played drums on myself all the time, and I drove everybody crazy. I have different parts of my body sound different. So I have a snare, belly, and, I have kick whatever, breast. So this is what I do, and I've been doing it for quite some time, and I've lived on it for, I think, 28 or 29 years, only my own strange music. And to me, that's one thing, to be able to do what you really want, complete freedom, and have nobody else deciding for you. And that's great. So basically, a working day could be a cup of coffee. I take my son to school, take the German Shepherds into the woods, and rack my brain a bit what to do with the day. And the wife makes breakfast, and I light a fire, and and then I take my strange mad scientist haircut and my strong coffee into the Applehorn studio and make strange music. And it's a beautiful life. I adore it. And then eventually I travel the planet and spread the Viking diseases and and so on. But the main thing is, when I knew what I was going to do since I was a little child, and in my teenage years, I have 4 elder sisters, and mom and dad tried to, of course, raise them as decent human beings and everything, and they failed. And I was a mistake that fell out of my mom 8 years from my closest sister. And it's like, oh, good God, it's a male sex organ, it's a boy. And so I was spoiled to death in many ways, lots of love and attention, and occasional Ace Frehley dolls and all kinds of things. So the thing is, I put in second gear on my playing when I was in my mid-teens, and I realized that, well, I'm going to do this, This is what I'm going to do. So I walked up to mom and dad, and we have something, gymnasium, I think. What is it, high school, or, well, somewhere in between. And I said, I'm going to quit school, and I'm going to spend 10 hours with my instrument every day. Is that okay? And they said, sure. What? You're okay with that? So I hope I'm going to be as liberal if my son finds something that he's really into. I want to collect stamps 10 hours every day. Oh, yes, of course. So
probably makes more money than a musician.
Yeah. But again, yeah, certainly. But again, I was a mistake. So it was like, yeah, but you've been doing the same thing since you were, 6 years old anyway. So we can't really stop you. It will backfire in a monumental kind of way. So yes, please do go ahead. And so I've lived on this since I was 16 at the time when I quit school, and I've been living on it since I was 19, and only making my strange music. And of course, I've had my share of shitty years, but little by little I started to understand the business, how to make decent money from it, and how to make the money return to you, even if it's really wacky stuff from time to time. I also make slightly more commercial music with Free Kitchen, although it has a twist, and we try to put various elements lurking. It's not obvious what's happening, but if you want to dig deep, you can find South Indian reduction structures in a fairly commercial song or a nasty lyric. So that's what I do. I try as much as possible to grow my own mustache, as I say. I really want to. If I compose something, for instance, and I feel this is a decent song, but it doesn't have the smell of Mattias IA Eklundh from Sweden. It doesn't have that typical, heathen kind of smell. I really think long and hard, to sort of dig out who I am and how to get that through in my music and how to make it sound like me. So that's what I've been doing quite a lot, listening back to myself. When I was in my shredding teenage years, I was flabbergasted when I heard Steve Vai or Yngwie Malmsteen or Tony McAlpine or whatever. I was like, I want to play like that. And then I realized that, well, I have to sort of refine myself, my persona and my playing. So listening back, I realized this is not a singer original note here. All this is somebody else's. Throw it out, get it out. You cannot play an interval, that anyone else is doing. So I've been really focusing on trying to be me, for better or worse. Sometimes it's like, oh shit, this is me as well. But that was bad. So, but that's really how it is. That's pretty much what I've been doing all the time. I had a 3-month kind of part-time job that was terrible. That's it. Otherwise, and I provide my family a tip-top life in the Swedish woods where we live and have a good time. So that's me. God, I talk a lot.
No, actually, it's funny. Everyone I interview says that, but the
Yeah.
point is to get you to talk a lot. So
Yeah, yeah,
please
yeah.
talk as much as possible. That's what people want to hear.
Goody, goody.
So you're a 19-year-old making
Yep,
a full-time living at that point.
yep.
You were playing in a metal band, I think, at the time, right?
Yeah, I moved to Copenhagen. I was desperate for some kind of action in my teenage life. So, and I had a band that was going nowhere at the time, which was, just my teenage band. But then I had an opportunity to audition for a Danish band called Fate, when there was a band called Merciful Fate featuring King Diamond with upside down cross in his forehead and everything, blah, blah, blah. And when that split, one band became Fate, which was a pop band, big hair, all that stuff, kind of 80s pop stuff. And then the other one became King Diamond, which was, satanic, diabolical stuff. And I had an opportunity to, and I didn't really like Fate, the music they did, but they were signed to EMI. They were touring all over the place, and I thought, well, whatever, as long as I get on with it. So I moved to Copenhagen. I got the gig. 25 other players had sort of auditioned. They played their overproduced demo cassettes, and I thought that everything I had recorded up until that point was utter crap. So I brought my guitar instead and just went to the drummer's place and played a lot in his living room, and they were just, hey, tip top, you got the gig. So I basically moved to Copenhagen and learned how to tour and the nasty side of show business, and I got to puke in limousines and run naked in Munich and drag innocent Swiss women up on their hotel room, all kinds of stupid things that you have to do when you're 19 or 20 and so on. And when I turned 21, I said, well, that's it. I now understand what not to sign when it comes to a contract. I realized that this will make money, this will not make money. It was a good learning period. And then I moved back to Sweden. And in 92, I've Free Kitchen. And that's it. I've been building this little strange, I don't know, mausoleum bit by bit. And it's only mine. I could have made 1,000 decisions along the way if I'd said yes to all the offers, and this and that could make me a much, how should I say, a bigger, more famous musician. But the thing is, I am in quite good control of my music, and you can make, again, a nice living if you are, first of all, if you adjust to new technology and you are aware of what's going on, and so on. But also if you keep on this in an honest way and make good music just because you love it and play it like you mean it. People will listen to you. People will pick it up, although it's a lot of white noise out there and everything is a blur and there's overkill. I'm a dinosaur. I've done this for a million years, so thank God, I don't start out today. That would have been tricky, I would have to show my penis. So just to get some quick attention. I'll do anything, But yeah, I have a freak following, and they're everywhere from Indonesia to America to, I don't know, Brazil to Norway, and that's great because I've been doing it for such a long time. I usually say I'm like herpes, I'm gone for a while and then I come back, That's how it is. I never quite go away. You think you got rid of me? You did not. Dang it.
Did growing up in Sweden, listening to primarily American instrumental rock music,
Yeah.
was there an effect being in Sweden, being away from a lot of your influences geographically, and
Yeah.
I don't know anything about the Swedish music scene or the music industry there. Could you describe what that was like for you and
Yeah.
the kind of
I think
challenges or the ways it might have helped?
Yeah, I think it helped in in many ways that first of all nobody lives in Sweden. We're 9 million people in a pretty big European country. At least if you've seen it, it's really wide stretched, so and there are some people who live in Gothenburg and some in Stockholm, which is the capital, but otherwise there's nobody here, and that's good. And it's cold as heck, so you have to stay inside and practice on your flying V, and that's what I did. I walked like the Hunchback of Notre Dame after 10 hours of sitting like like that. But I think it was good, and it was really super duper when you managed to get hold of a guitar player with a flexi disc. Remember those? Those really super, yeah. With, say, a Steve Vai demo of a Carvin amplifier, and you had that little song, Blue Powder. And I would freak out, There was a new Frank Zappa album. I remember when Jazz from Hell was released. I was, standing hours before the store actually opened and so on. So I think it really, really helped. And there was no internet, We had no access. People read magazines and so yeah, I think being in Sweden helps, and there's lots of great Swedish bands, because we practice, we take it quite seriously, and there's nothing else to do. chop wood, and play and sweep picking. That's it. Oh, stupido. Sorry.
No, it's perfectly fine. What are some of the other do you know many musicians in Sweden? Do you know almost all of them as a result of being there?
Yeah, well, I know many, but as my son said the other day, he said, "Dad," and he's 8 years old, and we were quiet in the car, and I was taking him to school, and he just looked at me and said, "Dad, you don't really have any friends. You only have fans." And I said, "What do you mean? You're my friend and the band and a few others." "Yeah, but they're not really friends. That's almost like family. We don't have any dinners with friends." "Yeah, well, Dad is traveling a lot, and when I'm home, I want to be with you, and so on." Right. So, but Sweden is small, but I never go clubbing. I never ever, people have to drag me to other bands' gigs and so on. But we are very much aware of who we are, and we know one another, but I never hang out, never ever, because when you travel like crazy, say you visit 28 countries in 1 year, well, the first thing you do when you want to come home is not to go and watch some live acts. So I hope I don't sound arrogant, but I rather, light a fire, glass of white wine, Blu-ray movie, whatever, and then I charge my batteries, and then I travel to the planet again and spread my strange music.
How did you get hooked up with Panzer Ballet?
It's a good question. I think there was some freaky Zappa-esque kind of festival in Germany where I did a guitar clinic, and they performed before, and I thought, what a band, what a band, the amazing guys. But I think that Jan Seerfeldt actually wrote me. I can't remember, but I said when I heard the stuff, I adore it. I think they're really, really, really cool. And but I also said that, hey, you got to work on a few things. You're just too good to have this anonymous kind of lame jazz-smelling artwork and so on. You need to build something, So we had I met him at the Frankfurt Messe, which is this used to be this big trade show and everything, and we had coffee, and I said, this and this you do right musically, you're just top notch and insane, and I love you, but this and this is utter shit. Nobody understands what it's about. You have to have some kind of, if not image, at least some output, pictures of the band, a logo, a cool record cover, a video. I'd be happy to help out. And then a few records later, we did this IKEA trauma kind of thing. So which is, well, that's my Ace Frehley doll. It's featured in the video. Yeah. And when my mom actually forgot me at IKEA, and so therefore I don't like IKEA. And I was a young man, she was so into shopping and checked out and everything. There I was alone. So, well, she figured out after a while that, hey, I'm missing little boy with penis. Where is he? There's a lot of penis talk now. I'll shut up about this. Sorry. So anyway, so that's it. I don't remember how it actually started, but I was invited to Jan's wedding last year, and I couldn't go though. I was on tour, but he's a tip-top chap and mad genius. So.
Absolutely. We spent probably 2.5 hours together doing interviews for this website, and we've been emailing each other for quite some time. So
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
quite pleased to be able to actually talk to him about this stuff.
yeah.
Tell me about how the impact of technology. You started 30 years ago or so, and things have changed over time.
Yeah.
How has technology affected how you write music and how you record it and release it?
Um, I, not super duper much. Of course, we when we started out, it was all tape machines and everything, and now you have. Uh, I'm looking at my studio outside. It's a different house in my garden. Of course, I have goody equipment there, and of course I record digitally, and but the process is kind of the same anyway. But I bless today's technology if used in the right way, so to speak. Of course, I use the social media stuff as everybody else, but I try not to check it too much. I don't want to live my life through it. I'm not going to post pictures of family vacation in Greece or whatever, stuff like that. But on the other hand, it's great that I can sit in a hotel room after walking around in Kathmandu with my nice HD cam and so on, edit video and throw it out on YouTube and have that. That's the beauty of it. But you always have to have something to say. If you have something to say with your music or whatever, then it's great. But I feel today that a lot of people have lost their cool in many ways. They post for the sake of posting. They share the most lame stuff, stuff that sort of takes away all the magic of following an artist. And so I don't want to see your living room. I don't want to know this stuff. I don't want to, see your bad morning haircut. You have beautiful hair this morning. You washed yourself.
Thank you.
Stuff like that. So you have to take it for what it is, as a wonderful tool, and it really is, and I love editing video and making stupid stop motion animation, and hey, I'm going to buy a new macro lens for my camera, whatever, and go really crazy and do strange Lego animations and so on, or put my son in front of the green screen, or my penis in front of the green screen. Sorry, so sorry, there it went. And that's great, that's amazing, but writing a song, I still sit with usually my acoustic guitar or my 8-string guitar and noodle around, and then I start working with it. Even if I see the music in actual waveforms nowadays, it's still the same thing. So because you can cut and paste, you can edit like crazy, but what I try to do as much as possible is to learn something from start to finish. Of course, you make mistakes, but the listener can tell if it's all chopped up in a million punch-ins and so on. I like it a little dirty every once in a while, so yeah.
You sound a lot like Steve Vai and Frank Zappa in terms of maintaining control of your brand, your personal brand,
Yeah.
and maintaining control of the business of your music.
Yes.
It sounds like you had kind of an awakening
Yeah.
about 30 years ago in terms of the business.
Yep.
What does that look like? Is that a big part of your everyday life, or is it just something that you're very attuned to?
If my music is kind of out there in many ways, but I remember when I did the first freak guitar album, I have done 3 like solo records with just guitar music, and nobody believed in it, and I didn't believe in it. I was really happy to have it released in between 2 Free Kitchen records, which is vocal oriented and so on. It's a band thing and has much more commercial potential, and it sold like it was insane. It was Southeast Asia picked it up. Everybody loved it, and it was recorded in a bathroom on 8 channels. And it generated a lot of money because the money returned to me. So I bought myself a house. My wife was smart enough to say, "Hey, this is the time in life where you actually invest in something," and so on. And so I did. So what I do is I want to frame my life with good stuff. I want to have freedom. I don't want to spend my morning in a traffic jam and so on every day and be miserable and so I try as much as possible to shape it up and make sure that I am not signing this piece of paper if I am not exactly super duper aware of what it means in practice. So that's what I usually do. I spend my day turning things down and saying no, 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 thank you, no, thank you. That was very kind, but no. Um, because I want to maintain control and I want to make money from my music, because again, it's a small planet and I've been doing this forever, and so people are aware of it. And if it doesn't, if I'm not super happening in Taiwan, well, maybe Turkey is cool then, or Tunisia or Brazil, so it's always working somewhere, and there's always a tour or a gig or a clinic, or a hoodie sold or a cap sold, because I have a merchandise company as well, and so on, with organic clothing, and sometimes it's like, hey, do you want to write a guest column for some magazine, or do you want to do a guest lead here, or and so on. So money comes from different places, but the main thing is it returns to me, and I have my own company. But I try to, and in order to be creative, you should not have to worry about bills and I have to do this and so on, so I try as much as possible to be independent, to invest in things. For instance, just building my studio, it took me 3 years, because I was doing it from the ground and paying along the way from just playing, meanwhile keeping the family afloat and happy, and providing food on the table. So it took me 2 years and 7 months, but then it was paid for and it's mine, no mortgages or whatever. And that is also freedom. You don't cave in or sort of drown in bills and monthly expenses, and again, it comes back to being creative and free to do whatever I want. And because it's life, every day counts, that's really how it is. So business side is boring, and I find it super duper boring to do bookkeeping and invoicing, but it has to be done, and I try to sort of work really super duper intense for an hour and then really shut it off no matter where I am, and then make music for 5 hours, so it has to have a balance, otherwise you will just again drown in it, so yeah.
It sounds like there's no shortage of opportunity for you. How did you go from, was it primarily the first record from Freak Kitchen that made you a big enough name to generate that much work, or you're turning things down on a regular basis, or has that just been a natural evolution over the last 30 years? What does that look like?
I think it's, again, about growing your own mustache. For instance, when I was joining Fate, the Danish band, late '89, when I was 19 and moved there, I immediately realized that this is an opportunity to show all my freaky teenage licks when we were doing a major company, record release and everything. So I really grabbed the opportunity to show this is what I can do. Of course, I overplayed and it was a complete guitar overkill. But the Japanese, they picked it up and they said, "Oh, this is great. This is the new guitar hero, blah, blah, blah." So when I quit the band, I went straight to the Japanese and said, "Hey, I'm going to, you really liked what I did on this previous record. I'm going to put a band together where I will sing and play. How would you like to cough up some money?" At the time, that was very possible. You could get, $15,000 in advance, and that would finance the entire recording and maybe a support band tour and everything, So because I did some mistakes when I was 16 and 17, we signed some, whatever, chicken brain records for 94 records and so on in a row. And you signed it in blood, and it took me forever to get rid of that. And I said, I don't want to be the dumb musician. I want to actually be in control. And in the early days, of course, I was starving like everybody else. It was really tough, and you didn't have any money. You couldn't pay any food. But I still kept on going. Instead of, hey, I'll play in a bar band, top 100 stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want to be arrogant, but it was not for me. I spent, weeks with my 4-track, cassette kind of recording device and just recording new stuff all the time and trying to, again, grow my own mustache, dig myself out. So, yeah, I haven't got a clue what the question was. But yes, things are better and better. Looking back, it's like, yeah, it's things are good, and a lot of musicians, they complain their brains out all the time. Oh, you can't sell records. No, but you can sell stuff on iTunes, and you can sell stuff here and there. Oh, you can't tour. Nobody will show up. Well, if you have to adapt in a way. You cannot sit home and complain like, but this is not at all like 1988. No, it's not. It's a different time. But there's money to be made, absolutely, and you just got to go out there and grab it, and find ways to do it. So that's cool.
Have you always had such a strong desire to be unique on your own, or did that come from influences?
I think it came from influences. I haven't really, again, doing stuff for the sake of doing it, say, well, I just want to be strange for the sake of being, well, that's easy. You can set yourself on fire and show off your ass and record it and whatever, and you will get some likes, and then the next day you will smell funny and nobody will ever watch you again, or whatever, people are desperate for quick attention. The hard thing is to do something in the long run and do something that's worthwhile. Quick attention is that's social media. People do anything. Hey, take your car and drive over me, please, and record it so we can get some likes. Kill me now, I want some attention. You're not bigger than your latest post, which is a crock of shit. Okay. Of course, people are cool. Leave them alone for a while. I go crazy when, again, all my colleagues, they post their brains out, and there's this ooze of desperation out there. Look at me, or you don't exist. Well, I exist. I certainly don't want to post every day. I post when I have something to say, or hey, there's a gig, or hey, look at my new record and here's a video. I don't want to post, oh, here's me, I have snot in my nose on the way to the tour bus. Woohoo! Likes anyone? Who gives a shit? And again, it takes away the cool stuff. It takes away the magic, and again, you think about that stuff when you listen to the music, so it kind of makes the music sort of transparent as well. Leave it. Sometimes it's good to shut the fuck up. Said I, suffering from verbal diarrhea, talking. Oh God, yeah.
Verbal Diarrhea is my favorite band, by the way. I just love them.
There's a band called Verbal Diarrhea. I didn't even know. True?
I didn't know that. No, I was joking.
Okay, sorry. Oh, yes.
Hey, so you've spoken a little about influences. You've mentioned a couple of names. Who are some of the musicians, or were, that formed your musical identity and informed your sense of uniqueness and holding on to that?
Well, it started with Kiss. They had a major impact on my 6-7-year-old Mattias Eklundh, because it was blood and fire, and he was just big and amazing and dangerous, and so that was great. I was really into Kiss, and I decided when Destroyer came out and Alive 2 that this is it. This is what I'm going to do. But then Frank Zappa came along in '81 and messed me up quite a bit, because I said I like this as well. Why do I like quintuplets and fire and explosions? Can you combine quintuplets with blood spitting? And I said, yeah, I think you can, and I will try to do that. So I actually got to meet Frank when I was 11 years old, and it was great. I don't think I really got it, but it was doing something to me. And then I started to pick it up even more a few years later, buying some albums, still liking Kiss and Iron Maiden and Judas Priest. And then my brother-in-law, he showed me, hey, check this guy out. His name is Django Reinhardt, and he played with two fingers. And for me, it was wow, what a hardcore thing. This is great. It was, old gypsy jazz, but I thought he could shred like crazy, and it was amazing. And then I discovered Mahavishnu Orchestra, and I loved that. So started to get into odd time and all that stuff. So my mom has always been interested in Indian music, and my dad would play train records, just sounds of old trains on LP. So there would be Oscar Peterson, Ravi Shankar, Train, Sweet, Alice Cooper, Kiss, Iron Maiden, Miles Davis, Django Reinhardt, Slayer, all of it. And so for me, it's pretty much good music or bad music. If you got stuff to say, chances are quite good that I will like it, if you play it like you mean it and so on. But of course, Frank Zappa has been insanely influential on my Swedish self. Yeah.
What about song composition? When did you start writing music, and how did it sound early on, and what has been the evolution of your songwriting?
Well, two of my really early hits, one was called Homework Rots My Mind, and the other one was simply called Go to Hell. And we performed that when I was 9 or 10 years old, and my mom and dad had been to India, and they, what the hell is that called? Called incense, do you call it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it smells a lot, and some tiny smoke. We didn't know what a smoke machine was, so we just duct taped together like a really big pack of incense in our classroom, and I still have the recording of it. I played drums at that gig, and after the first song you could hear some of my classmates saying, "Could you get rid of the smoke? My eyes are running." And so yeah, we don't have a smoke machine, so we need some smoke. That classroom was never the same again. So yeah, you do what you do. But I started to write songs very early on, 3-chord songs and 4-chord songs and so on. And writing a song is always slippery. You never know really. A good song should be, I think you should be able to perform it on a banjo if that's what it is. I don't do a lot of growling. I'm still a lot into harmony. You can be aggressive, but then I like to actually hear what people are saying. So I like a good scream every once in a while and so on. But I still work a lot with harmony and tonality and rhythm and stuff like that. So yeah, then it's a matter of dressing it up and arranging it and producing it, and it's tricky, but I love it. I love to make something out of nothing. That's really the biggest kick, to walk into the studio with that strange cup of coffee and just, get behind the drum kit today. No, didn't work. I'll try the mandolin. No, didn't really generate any creative sparks. I'll sit with my 8th string and come up with something. And having a studio of your own is beautiful because of course you can just do something right away. Hey, I will do something today. I'll write a song. I'll record it. I'll mix it. And that's great. It's a wonderful thing.
I've heard you talk about boredom being a great source of inspiration. Can you talk about that?
That's Sweden for you. Sweden equals boredom. Nothing happens. Nobody is here. No, but I think it was somebody. There's some video out there with a guy who shot. When I think I was asked during a clinic somewhere in Holland. Somebody asked, "Do you have a special app that you practice to?" And I started to. There's a slight fury inside there because this is exactly what I do not like about today's technology, is because I make rock music. That's really what it is. It's a twisted version of AC/DC in a way, and I plug in to my amplifier. I play very loud. I don't like really racks or line stuff. I'm very, very old school when it comes to that stuff. A lot of people think I have a lot of gear and effects. I do not. I plug straight into the amplifier and do everything with my passive volume pedal, no batteries or adapter, and the rest are my fingers. what was the question again? I can't remember. Yes, boredom. And anyway, so I got this. Do you have this practice routine? And have you heard about this app? And you can slow down and you could do this. And I just went crazy and said, "There's no bloody app for this. Spend 10 hours every day like me, and give yourself the time, and give yourself the opportunity to actually be good at something. Today, everything is super fast. Everything has to happen in a second, and if you're not a top-notch player by the end of the week, you do something else, and everybody has a restless leg that I sit next to them, and all the planes are just still, be still, breathe, relax, read a book, just spend an hour watching the clouds, but everything has to be, I halfway through the movie, I'll skip to another movie, or I'll check the phone meanwhile. Oh, there's no Wi-Fi on the plane. We're fucked, So again, long walks in the Swedish woods with the dogs really helps. I need it. I really need it to block things out. I never bring my phone in when visiting nature, and living in the countryside is good as well, because I was much more confused when I was living in the city. And not everybody, of course, can live in the countryside. That's how it is. But for me, it's importante. Really to clean my head and cleanse my brain in a way. So boredom is important, Allow yourself to be bored. It's tricky, but it's good for you, and it's good for creativity.
Are you a trained musician? Did you go to school ever in your career to study music or receive formal lessons in music theory, harmony?
Not at all. I'm a complete schmuck. It's I had a flute lesson when I was 10, and I hated it. And that's it. I quit school, as I said before, when I was 16, and that's it. And one day, one of my older sisters, who she was in big trouble, but years before that. But then she grew up and became a conductor, which is obviously the way to do after sniffing superglue, is to conduct an orchestra. Anyway, so and she walked into me and she asked me to play an F major 7 chord. She was into some Stevie Wonder song, I think, "Sunshine of Your Life," and I was shredding my brains out. I could sweep and swoop and riff and so on, but I didn't know what an F major 7 chord was. And the most humiliating thing is when you are 15, 16, and your older sister is moving your flying V fingers around. You're heavily distorted, and I said, no, this is an F major 7. I was like, fuck you. So I just crawled away to the library and really just smashed all these books about musical theory and everything inside my head. And really, it was this Eureka moment. It was really, I got it. I understand what is called a major 7 or a flat 7, or this is a Lydian scale. I can play the Lydian scale at warp speed, no problem. I just didn't have a name. And if I don't play the major 7, if I play a flat 7 and play the Lydian, it's called the Lydian dominant, also called the overtone scale, also used by Bela Bartok and so on. And that was a really cool thing. And if I put this dot here, that means it's an F sharp. Great, So I educated myself all the way, and now I have since 18 years, this is the 18th year, I have my freak guitar camp where I sit on my guru chair, which is a bit higher than everybody else's for ego boosting, and also they can see my playing, and so yes. Yeah. And we have 70 players from all over the world every year, and I started to take registrations for this summer last week, and there are a few spots left, and then it's sold out again, and I'm really grateful. But I write so much music, really practicing stuff. There's a lot of, I have this Freak Guitar TV YouTube channel. There's a lot of stuff called Growing Your Own Mustache that's left over kind of camp stuff. But this is also, of course, put down in notation and tablature, and we explore Indian tonality and Japanese tonality and all kinds of rhythms and reduction structures and how to make write a good song. And they get to meet a lot of people from all over the place, and lots of other guests and everything that I fly. Jan Selfelt has been there, and Guthrie Govan and Bumblefoot and Jonas Hellborg and lots of Indians, and it's a tip-top thing, and I'm honored to be able to do it. I cannot remember the question again. I'm just talking. We were talking
about being formally trained in any way.
Yes. No, I've educated myself. That's it. That's the answer.
Do you write out your music after you write it, or as you're writing it, to remember the idea, or is it you're recording audio snippets here and there? How do you go about this?
Usually it's just recording, walking into the studio or recording it on whatever, the cell phone or whatever, really quickly. Then I have a right hand. He's a former camper. He's so fast when it comes to music notation. So sometimes it's like, this is a complicated tune, and I'll explain what I want to do. And he's like writing an email. He's that fast, typing. Can you do this for me? I'll give you money. Just do it, So sometimes you have entire song transcriptions and everything, and sometimes I do it myself as well, of course.
I've heard you use loops in some music, modified loops.
Yep.
I know that's played into some of your Carnatic rhythm type stuff going on in your music.
Yeah.
And I've also seen you completely destroy the use of other things and turning them into musical elements. So do you get a sense of melody and that drives a song, or do you start with chords, or you start with the sound, or what do you seem to favor, and how does that usually lead to a song?
I think it's different every time. Sometimes, obviously, it's a hook, it's a melody, it's a riff that has a melody. It's a cool riff from a cool rhythm. Sometimes it's these unorthodox devices, printers and dildos and combs and hose clips or whatever. But again, I find it very important not to be weird for the sake of being weird. All the stuff that I use, it may be a chopstick or whatever, is because you can only get that sound from a plastic chopstick. It's not because, hey, I want to be super duper special, I want to use a chopstick today, woohoo, or I walk around looking for things to use. It's almost everything is by mistake, and therefore I feel it's much cooler, and I don't know, it works. The comb, for instance, I was alone in a Spanish hotel room and my luggage was somewhere else, no Wi-Fi, 10 hours to sound check, and then you have this kind of Air France survival kit and everything, and I just started to comb the strings, and it was just, this is great. I've never heard this before, and so it has to have some kind of musical point, some kind of sound that you can only do. Same thing with the dildo. It was a sort of, hey, funny birthday gift. And of course, hey, it's got a motor inside. I'll try it on the guitar. And there was a woohoo, So, and a little wah-wah. Used to do it in a very overkill kind of way. I used to have like 10 or 15 dildos strapped onto my Swedish body, and the guitar would come down from the light rig, and I would rub myself with the dildos going at different speed, and the audience would love it. But it became too much, because I threw them out. So never mind. But you have to have some kind of point. That's really what it's all about.
The life of a musician is very different in reality than people think from looking at magazines.
Yes.
Was that something that you realized early on, and does that impact you in the way that you look at yourself as a musician?
Well, for me, it's the travel can be quite harsh, and again, I've been all around the planet, it was 1 year, I think 2 or 3 years ago, I visited every bloody continent, it was insane. It was just too much. I remember the last trip before Christmas, I did a performance in Germany, then I went to Abu Dhabi, and then I went to Australia for a week, moved every week, different stages every week. Then I went to Indonesia, I played Jakarta, Bandung, then I went to China, then I went to Nepal, did live in Kathmandu, back to Dubai, and then back to Europe, and this was in like 2.5 weeks. And I was just dead meat. It took me a month to recover. Different time zones every day. We have to get up early, Mattias, to get the plane to Shanghai, and so on. And it was madness. You sleep 3-4 hours a day, and you're also supposed to be a superhero every time you walk on stage, do a 2 hour clinic or a beefy gig or whatever. And it's tough. It's really, really tough. And people, when you talk to, oh, great, so you've been to Australia. Did you see any kangaroos? Yes, I did, from the cab to the hotel, from there, and so on. So basically, you spend your time in lobbies and in airports, and you see the stuff that nobody wants to see. So I have no real illusions about being a professional musician. On the other hand, it's a great job because you get to travel the planet. You get to, I'm honored that people actually show up and that I can provide my family a groovy life with doing just what I'm doing. So that's great, but it's tough. We just did a 4-gig Italian tour in November, and planning was great. Logistics were fine and everything was tipped. It was an early flight from Gothenburg, and but of course Lufthansa, which was the airline company, they were on a strike. So there's no way we're going to get you to Milan in time, and we met like 4 in the morning, and it was going to be a cool day with lots of sleep and catching up and so on. It didn't happen, of course. We got stuck somewhere in Düsseldorf, and our backdrop was stolen. We barely, reached the gig. And then for the next, days, we traveled like crazy. 10 hours every day in the bus and no sleep whatsoever, And then in Rome, while we were on stage in Rome, all the shit in Paris happened, with the shootings and this terrible thing, and all of a sudden military came running, and it was just madness all over the place. So you say to someone, we played Rome last Friday. Oh, great. Did you have an espresso macchiato? Take some time off? Did you watch the Colosseum? Not really, no. I was sitting in a freezing backstage room while, so that's how it is. But still, I don't want to complain because this is what I've choose to do, and it's great, But again, I'm 46 and I've done it for such a long time. So we don't want to do crappy things, It's not super charming to always have a lack of sleep, and you age too fast in a way. Overnight you get really gray beard, and good God, I look like a saddleback in my face, and leather eyes. Yes. But that's okay, dead fish eyes. So it's still okay, I have seen more than people will do in a lifetime. I see in a year, from walking around in Kolkata or hey, live in Johannesburg or so I don't want to change it, but it's tough, of course. Yeah.
You play guitar. You are a producer of bands. Perhaps you even rent out your studio for people to record, and you might help with engineering. How has your career expanded and evolved, and what does that look like for the future, the next 10 years for you?
Yeah. I actually don't rent my studio out because I built it like a 2-floor big playing ground, really, with so there's no walls to separate the drums from this, just big open space, and I love that. You just be able to crawl over to the drums and so on. But yes, it's a good question, because again, I don't want to tour to death. Where people say, can you come 3 months to the States and tour? Are you kidding? 3 months away from the Swedish woods? No, we can come for 2.5 weeks. That's it, and you got to pay us as well. So that's really what it is. So we do want to tour, but we're all parents and we're all middle-aged men. And in order to do good, you have to, because I see a lot of miserable musician friends. They tore their brains out, and all the money they earn, or even merchandise, they go straight to some strange management account or whatever. And they return after 3 months on the road with no money. It's not okay. They've been busting their asses, but the thing is, we're going to launch this next month. It's called No Bull Stuff, or No BS, organic clothing, featuring the Free Kitchen cow. It's today I have a damn, I wish I could see this. A beautiful hood. We have, again, eco clothing in India that we're making, because I have this connection with India. So that's really cool. And it's me and a friend who used to make the Free Kitchen merchandise. So that's a cool business. And our wives will be involved as well, packing stuff and shipping it. So that's great. And also doing something good for the planet, because the clothing industry is, of course, complete caca, as they say in France. So that's cool. And I've also, last year we did this lovely video called Freak of the Week with Juanjo Guarnido and a team from Disney and a lovely Parisian studio as well. And we're in 2014. There was a book about it, and this opened up the world of animation for me. I adore, of course, watching Disney and Pixar and all that stuff with my family. And all of a sudden, a relative from very far away called Ben Rush called me one day and said, I'm working at DreamWorks, and Juanjo Guarnido was here and showed your Freak of the Week video. And I realized, hey, that's my distant cousin. We met when we were kids in Sweden. And I was like, holy shit, I want to work together. And now we've begun, we're going to start this Indiegogo campaign of financing his first movie on his own. He's now with Pixar, but he wants to make this indie film called Only a Dream. And I'm writing music for it. And that's great as well. I'd love to take a year off and just write music for that. But I've also begun doing stop motion. I love stop motion. It's insane just doing these animations. And the other day there was this company. It was a friend of mine, a free guitar camper, but he has this company, said, we would like 5 sort of, I don't know, stir around a bit kind of videos, because we want to put it on social media and create some attention. Can you make some? Because I did a few short, I called it minimalist animation kind of videos, and he said, I love this. Could you make 5 for me? And he paid a lot of money, and it was great. I was like, sure, I'd love to, just to see what I can do. So there I was, 25 frames or 24 in America per second, moving stuff around, and it turned out great. I loved it, and it's lovely to sit down because it's so time consuming in complete quiet, and you do the most weird things with your body when you do stop motion, because you cannot screw it up,
Right.
and I love that as well. And then I make music for it, and that's the beauty of today's technology as well. And you throw it up on YouTube in full HD 1080p. So yeah, it's great. God, I'm talking a lot. I'm sorry. Yes.
No,
Yeah.
please don't apologize.
Okay. Good. All right.
The site is called Make Weird Music. You've talked about
Good.
You do Kiss and Frank Zappa music kind of with a twist. Could you describe the twist for us and what that means to you?
Yeah. I've always, again, as I said, been trying to grow my own mustache, but I always want to sort of stay on the right side of weird. You know what I mean? I don't want to alienate people. I don't want to put people away. I want people to hear my stuff, but I also want to include things that you normally don't do, not for the sake of doing it, just because I'm interested in it. If I travel India, for instance, and I spend time in Chennai, with just kids clapping hand, listening to their sort of Carnatic rhythm structures, it freaks me out. I said, Jesus Christ, I didn't know this. This is excellent. That they could be 8-year-old kids and they kick my ass so bad. They don't give a shit if I know Dweezil Zappa or I hang out with the guys in Meshuggah. They don't care, and I'm amazed, and I bring it back to Sweden and I try to incorporate it again without making it so out there that nobody would listen to it. It has to have a groove. I always go back before production and listen to Let There Be Rock with AC/DC and Overnight Sensation with Frank Zappa, and sometimes a little bit of Tom Petty, say Into the Great Wide Open, just good pop record, and say, why are these records so good, and how can I try to keep my cool and make good songs, but also incorporate all the elements that I'm interested in. I mean, because Free Kitchen is not like, say, Panzer Ballet. They are wonderful, but they are insane. They're just insane. I laugh my ass off every time. We don't want to do that. We have a different audience in a way. We want people to. We have kids and girls and boys and whatever. We can play a death metal festival. Or we can play a indie Brit pop kind of festival, and we still work. We don't want to be too out there. Because it has to be still a good song, and of course, Panzer, they make excellent music. You know what I mean? But Jan is really exploring the depths of madness, and so on. But I always go back to this. Why is this Tom Petty song so good? I like this. I want this melody. I want something like this. But I also want to have an Indian reduction structure attached to it, or a quintuplet. So that's what I do. But I never sit down and think about it in a kind of intentional kind of way. Today I'm going to write a song in 9/8 and then I'm going to use this raga. I do not. I just sit in front of the fireplace with my acoustic guitar. You have a lovely acoustic guitar behind your head, and write music.
Oh, I do,
and if
yeah.
it's yes, you do. And that's how it is. It has to come natural. Otherwise, the song will be paper thin. So yeah.
That's wonderful. I love that description because I don't want to convey the wrong side of weird. As much as
No.
I love Henry Cow, I'd also like to make
Sure.
music that my wife doesn't hate.
Yeah, true. Exactly. And the kids, they love it. The ultimate test is when you play stuff for 8-year-old kids. Do they like it? If they like it, it's good. That's really how it is. If do they get off on it in a way? So yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been amazing, and I'll send you strange photo and strange videos and all kinds of things.